So the first question is, the EPA said in the record of decision that the Parrot plume would take 200 years to reach the lower level end MSD Silverbow Creek. You are the new RPM for the Butte Hill. Do you stand by that theory?
Yes. EPA still believes that the Parrot plume will not reach the lower end of MSD. Although the reasons for this conclusion have changed since the publication of the ROD. Previously, it was thought that the plume traveled via a deep circulation pathway that would take approximately 200 years to complete. However, wells completed by the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology and an aquifer test conducted by Atlantic Richfield since the publication of the ROD, have shown that there is a shallower sandy zone that is actually acting as a faster conduit for groundwater flow. It has since been shown using multiple lines of evidence that the contaminated water from this zone is being captured by the Metro storm drain subdrain installed by Atlantic Richfield in 2004. Additionally, movement of contamination in solution is a completely different situation. Contaminant movement is always slower than groundwater movement. Contaminants interact with the aquifer materials and attenuate or diminish. Because of attenuation, plumes always have a maximum distance they can travel before the contaminants are less concentrated, to a point of not being contamination anymore. When plumes reach this maximum distance, they become stable and no longer expand. The plume mass no longer moves, but the contaminant particles continue to move from the source via leaching to the plume limits via attenuation. By monitoring contaminant concentrations, we can tell if the plume mass is moving or stable. The plume mass is not moving even though the water continues to flow at about 2,400 feet per year. Obviously, this is a complicated subject, and EPA is in the process of completing several technical documents that will describe the situation in detail. I would encourage anyone who has questions to call me at 406-457-5019 or email me at greene.nikia@epa.gov. I would be happy to explain in more detail.
If the state could produce data that shows removing the source of the Parrot contamination would enable the aquifer to clean up within approximately 100 years, would you reconsider EPA's decision to leave the Parrot waste in place?
So, EPA's remedial program is aimed at protecting human health and the environment. Our remedial program is accomplishing that by concentrating on capturing groundwater and then treating the groundwater. That protects the environment by preventing the groundwater from entering Silverbow Creek in quantities that could harm the insects and fish who now live there. EPA has thoroughly studied the geochemistry and sources of metals associated with the Parrot waste, and the evidence is overwhelming that the contamination is too widespread to make a full removal practical. The sediments which have been impacted by the plume extend over 100 feet beneath the Parrot tailings and nearly a mile down gradient, and would be left in place by any currently proposed partial removal action. These impacted sediments will continue to act as secondary sources of contamination to groundwater for over 100 years. By law, EPA is required to do a 5-year review of all Superfund sites where waste is left in place. 5-year reviews provide an opportunity to evaluate the effectiveness and performance of a remedy to determine whether it remains protective of human health and the environment. At any time that new information is brought to EPA's attention about the protectiveness of the remedy, we will evaluate the information and make decisions from that data. EPA takes scientific data very seriously. The data is what decisions are based on. Data and new information will continue to be evaluated and addressed. Over 10 different groundwater-related studies have been conducted since 2010. The studies, in part, represent the data that defines groundwater capture and treatment in the MSD corridor down to the Butte treatment lagoons. The report is scheduled to be completed in the fall of 2015 and consists of an evaluation of these studies along with the data produced by the state. As the new remedial project manager, I am confident that the extensive groundwater monitoring system will identify any increasing trends in metal concentrations well before you would ever see it in Silverboat Creek. If monitoring indicates that there is a problem, then that problem would be addressed. All evidence to date indicates that the Parrot plume is stable and being captured due to the remediation performed on the site. We are working with the state to assist them in their implementation of their proposed removals under the restoration program. The project fits with those criteria, and the two programs can work together to accomplish protection and achieve some restoration. Again, please contact me if you have any questions or concerns.